You'll probably know that when you are filming something, quite frequently you will have to do this handheld. You won't always have access to a tripod, or it might not even be convenient to use a tripod. And I suppose today we see much more handheld footage on our TV screens as well, whether it's a TV program or it's a film. If you watch any of the films in the Bourne trilogy, then you'll see that this is quite a commonplace and popular format. Anyway, all that said, what I want to look at in this tutorial is actually stabilizing our video in terms of when we've got video that has been filmed handheld and we don't really want it to be moving too much, although a degree of movement is fine, but if we want to try and lock it down so it doesn't roll all over the place, then we need a tool or a function within Vegas that will allow us to do it. Well, there is such a tool. Before we look at using it, I want you to have a quick look at this event. I've placed it on our timeline, and it's from the last part of our studio recording. This is actually a keyboard section right at the end. I'll play this through for you so that you can see how much movement there is. Now, admittedly, the camera does pan around the keyboard, but that's not really a problem. I'm looking more at the problem of shaking from side to side a little bit too much. It rocks a little bit to the left and to the right that I don't want to incorporate in the final movie. So I'm going to play it through. Bear in mind, you're also going to hear the rehearsal room recording as well for the audio, but we'll do something about that at the end of this tutorial where we'll replace it. Okay, great stuff. Now, it's not terrible, I'm not saying that, but there is a little bit too much rolling from side to side at certain parts, so let's do something about it so that we can correct it, even if it is only marginal. Now, first of all, just to make this a little bit more smooth in terms of playback, I'm going to create a fade at the end of our audio, so I'll grab there and drag to the left to create that fade out, and the converse will apply. I'm going to go to the beginning and create a fade in by left-clicking there and dragging to the right just to create that small fade in. I'm going to do the same thing for the actual video itself as well. I'll create a fade in from black up to full opacity. Right then, this is all we need to do then when we want to implement the stabilizing function. First of all, select the event itself and then run up to your menu and click on Tools. Roll down to Video and then across to Media Effects. Okay, now I'm not going to click on it because I'm just showing you that way. I also want to show you a different method, so I'll just deselect and then making sure my event is still selected, right click, and then I can do pretty much the same sort of operation. I'll go up to Media Effects this time, and there you go. We end up in the same place with our plugin chooser. And really, it's just a matter of finding where it is. Well, I know it's over here. Let me just drag to the right. There it is, Sony Stabilize. So click on Add and then hit OK. Now my Media Effects dialog is just slightly off screen, so let me place it here. And there you can see my Stabilize effect. There are 3 presets. If you click here, well, you can either have light stabilization, you can have medium stabilization, or, I'm sure you can guess, we can have heavy stabilization. If you click on light stabilization, then you'll see these 2 sliders here pertaining to pan smoothing and stabilization amount. Well, these are both set to 0.25. Now, the further these sliders are to the left, then the lighter the stabilization will be. Of course, moving to the right will make the stabilizing more aggressive. If I click on medium stabilization, then you'll see both of my settings now go to 0.5, and then heavy stabilization goes to 0.75. Now, of course, your 2 sliders here aren't set in stone. You can adjust them. What I would suggest doing is start off with the light stabilization to see if that works for your material. If it doesn't, then go through the presets, and if none of those work, then adjust these 2 sliders independently to see what works well. Anyway, once you are satisfied, you have to click on here where it says Apply. So I'll do that, and the stabilization dialog box is just slightly off screen, but once it's done, then all you need to do is click on the cross here to close this down from view, and the stabilizing process has taken place on our event. So let's go to the beginning and watch this through. Okay, now that was heavy stabilization, and I think it's done a fair job. So I'm going to leave it like that. I'm not going to adjust my parameters. But what I will do is, well, you'll probably notice on track 3, I've got the studio recording. So I'm going to mute the audio that was recorded within the rehearsal studio and have it replaced with the playback of our studio recording. Now I've lined these up as close as I can by ear, so when playing back, they should be synchronized. Okay, so just making sure the rehearsal room audio, well, I need to make sure that that is muted, and because it was muted, my studio recording let me unmute. We'll make sure my CTI is at the beginning, and we'll watch this through again. So I'll click play. Okay, now I think that looks loads better because we've stabilised our footage and of course we've replaced the rehearsal room audio with the studio recording.